So, are we on the verge of one AI to rule them all? Today, we're talking about the rise of the generalist agent, and it really signals a fundamental shift in how we think about artificial intelligence. Forget juggling a dozen different AI apps. The future is pointing towards something way, way bigger. I mean, think about it for a second. Do we really need a separate AI for every little thing we do? You know the drill, right? You've got one AI that's a genius at writing code, another for surfing the web, and maybe a third just to summarize your PDFs. It's kind of messy, isn't it? Well, that exact fragmentation is the big problem that researchers are laser focused on solving right now. And this really gets to the core of the debate. On one side, you have your AI specialists. Think of them like individual tools in a toolbox, a hammer, a saw. They're amazing at their one specific job. But on the other side is the goal, an AI generalist, which is much more like a Swiss Army knife. You know, one single versatile tool that can handle pretty much anything you throw at it. All right, so let's dig into that a little deeper. The AI specialist problem. The issue is that while they are incredibly powerful, they're also incredibly narrow. So here's the deal in a nutshell. These specialist agents are fantastic in their own little sandbox. They excel at coding or web browsing. But the moment you ask them to step outside that box, they completely fail to generalize. And that forces us, the users, to constantly juggle all these different separate AI tools. It's like having an elite athlete who is the best in the world at basketball, but is totally useless on a baseball field. That's the frustration we're dealing with. And that exact limitation has kicked off this huge quest for a generalist agent. The big question floating around the entire AI community is, can one agent really learn to do it all? Which leads to an even more fascinating question. This isn't about just cramming every tool imaginable into one AI. No, the real challenge is figuring out what's the smallest possible set of tools an AI needs to be great at almost anything. What's the essential minimalist toolkit for a true generalist? Okay, so let's meet the contender. This is OpenHands-Versa, the so-called Swiss Army knife agent. It's a potential answer to that very question coming from researchers at Carnegie Mellon and All Hands AI. So what's under the hood? What's in this generalist toolkit? It's actually shockingly simple, but incredibly powerful. First, coding, the ability to write, debug, and run code on the fly. Second, multimodal web browsing, and this is key. It means it can actually see and interact with websites, not just read text. And third, information access, letting it use search APIs and read different files, like PDFs. But look, it's one thing to build a cool new agent. It's another thing entirely to prove it's any good. So the researchers set up what I like to call the AI Olympics. 3 ultimate tests to pit their generalist against the reigning champs. And trust me, these are not easy tests. We're talking SWE-Bench Multimodal, which is all about fixing nasty, real-world software bugs. Then there's GAIA, which tests if it can be a useful personal assistant. And finally, the agent company, a simulation where the AI has to act like a digital coworker. This is serious stuff. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the generalist agent didn't just hold its own against the specialists. It actually won. The results were pretty surprising. All right, first event, the software challenge. This is the home turf for specialist coding agents. This is exactly what they're built for. And just look at this. The best specialist agent scored a 25.3% success rate. Pretty good. But our generalist OpenHands-Versa? 34.4%. That is a massive 9.1 point jump in performance. It walked onto the specialist home court and won. Big time. Okay, wow, so it's a great coder. But what about the messy, unpredictable world of being a personal assistant? Let's look at the GAIA challenge. And amazingly, it won again. It was close, for sure, but it edged out the top specialist 51.2% to 49.8%. This is a huge deal because it proves this thing isn't a one-trick pony. It can switch gears to a totally different kind of problem and still come out on top. All right, on to the final round, the Digital Coworker Challenge. This benchmark, the agent company, is maybe the most complex of them all, simulating a real job. And another decisive victory. The generalist completed over 33% of the tasks, while the specialist managed just 24%. That's another huge 9.1 point improvement. I mean, that's a clean sweep across 3 totally different, really hard challenges. So you have to be asking, how did it pull this off? Well, this chart here is basically the secret sauce. In the personal assistant test, you can see it used the browser and search tools a ton, which makes sense. But the magic is that it knew exactly when to switch. It knew when to pull out its coding tool, IPython, or when to edit a file. The real breakthrough isn't just having the tools, it's knowing the right tool for the job, all on its own.
The results are just stunning. But what does this actually mean for the future of AI assistants? More importantly, what does this mean for you?
Well, the biggest takeaway seems to be this: that future where you have a folder on your phone packed with different AI apps for different jobs, that might not be our future at all. Instead, we might just need one.
And I love this quote from the researchers themselves because it just nails it. They say generalist agents can be designed simply by providing the necessary tools and letting them autonomously decide how to use these tools. The beauty here is the simplicity. It's not some crazy, complex new architecture. It's about giving an AI a few basic, powerful tools and then just letting it figure things out. And that leaves us with one last, kind of mind-blowing thought to chew on. We just saw an AI master coding, web browsing, and office work. So what happens when one AI can learn to do any task you can do on a computer? The era of the generalist agent, well, it feels like it's just getting started.